Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Forgot to Grow podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.3E13. Today I'm going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 13, Parting Shot. So I'm just going to be starting off with the plot summary and then just talking about some general elements in this episode that I liked. So let's get started with that plot summary, which says Bobby and Hunter follow Malik to a decommissioned facility in Siberia where Russian diplomat Anton Petrov wishes to build the sanctuary against the wishes of the Russian Prime Minister. The Russian Prime Minister sends his attaché to shut down the operation, but is murdered by a general, an opposition minister, and a human whose shadow is made of sentient dark force. Malik suggests that the Prime Minister be invited to this facility himself and that the general be unleashed upon him. Bobby and Hunter Hunter kills Petrov to protect the Prime Minister, while Bobby kills the general to destroy his shadow. The Prime Minister, unaware of the attempt on his life, has the two arrested. Their Interpol interrogator threatens to turn them over to the Russians for execution unless they confirm that SHIELD still exists, but Bobby and Hunter refuse. President Ellis intervenes with Coulson. They save the pair's lives on the condition that they never work for the U.S. government again, with the option of working in secret out of the field. Bobby and Hunter instead choose to leave SHIELD. So this episode is a kind of sad episode because this is where we lose Bobby and Hunter. I think they were just supposed to get a spin-off of this, which I think they kind of did with Most Wanted. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that one. But yeah, I believe they were getting written off to have their own series originally, which ended up taking off or actually just being canceled, I believe. But this is sad because I do really enjoy these two characters, and them leaving the team is a little unfortunate. It would have been cool if they did get their own spin-off. That would have been a less sad thing if they'd gotten their own spin-off, so that we still got these characters around. But it's still sad that we lose them from the team. But it also kind of makes sense. There are a lot of characters in this season, so having to take a couple out of the main team makes a little sense so that you can focus more on each individual member of the team, as opposed to have, like, this takes two members out, it makes it a little bit less. We already lost Ward, you know what I mean? So that makes sense to me, and the fact that they were supposed to have a spin-off also makes sense to me. But again, it's still sad. I love Hunter, he's great, and Bobby just kicks so much ass. But anyways, but yeah, that's what this whole episode is about. This whole episode's about how it's leading up to the circumstances that, causes them to have to leave, and them kind of having a little bit of a goodbye. It's a big focus on the two of them in this episode. There's a lot of talking in this episode, which I think was well handled, between having like it set up with the flashbacks and then the interrogation. I thought they did a good job of handling the pacing in this one, considering, like I said, not a crazy amount happens. They do fight a shadow thing, which was kind of cool. That was a cool element. It was weird how long it took them to kind of put 1 and 2 together, that all they had to do was take out the general in order to stop the shadow. But granted, sometimes you gotta play things out a little bit more. But that being said, it was still kind of a cool thing that it was kind of a different and human power than we had seen before. And so it was kind of cool to revisit that. But yeah, overall, this episode, like I said, was really focused on the fact that we lost Bobby and Hunter in this episode. It was a lot about them talking about how they had never had a vacation a lot during this episode, and each of the characters kind of mentioning and that kind of foreshadowing in the episode itself that, they probably need to get away from this life, and that's what they choose at the end of this episode in a way, because they're still kind of on the run / being tracked. But I do like the spy's goodbye at the end. It made me tear up a little bit, just like everybody in the show, because it was sad that they can't actually have a proper goodbye. But that's part of the life that they've chosen as being spies. But it's still sad, and it's still a nice one, especially with Mac being, staying back and that was sad, and it just got to me, pulled on my heartstrings. And like I said, I would have loved for them to get their spin-off, but it didn't work out, which is too unfortunate. I can't remember if either of these two come back at all in the show. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if you guys know if they pop up again. I can never remember for sure. I feel like Hunter maybe does in a later season, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So be sure to let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this episode. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if there's anything I missed, foreshadowing and Easter egg wise, or anything that you liked in particular about this goodbye to Bobby and Hunter episode. But thanks again for joining me today, and have a good one.